Hey everybody, so today I want to talk about 5 NHL players who are having phenomenal seasons but aren't really getting a ton of attention for it. These are guys that are kind of flying under the radar a little bit, that aren't being talked about a whole lot in the media, and are guys that, if for the casual fan, if they went to the NHL.com stats page, would probably be like, whoa, that guy's been that good this season. Obviously, McDavid, Matthews, Draisaitl, Pastrnak, those guys get all of the media attention. But these guys are having just, maybe not quite as good of seasons, but are making almost as big of an impact for their teams as those top superstars that get talked about all the time. So before we get into it, I just ask that you please subscribe and hit that thumbs up button if you haven't yet. Helps the channel an absolute ton and is very much appreciated. But let's get started here. Starting with Patrick Kane of the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, Patrick Kane got a lot of attention last night because he scored his 400th career goal. Obviously, that was absolutely massive for him to hit that milestone in his career. But Patrick Kane is a legitimate MVP candidate this season, and I don't think enough people realize that. Kane, through 23 games, has 11 goals, 23 assists for 34 points and a +9 rating. One of the only reasons that Chicago has been as good as they have been this year has been because of the leadership of Patrick Kane, along with some other guys. Duncan Keith's having a nice year. Kevin Lankinen has been a revelation in goal, but Patrick Kane is leading the way for the Chicago Blackhawks with 34 points, tied for second in the NHL with Leon Draisaitl. In 23 games this year. Kane should legitimately be in the top 3 for MVP candidates right now, and he's having an absolutely monster season. Number 2, James Van Riemsdyk of the Philadelphia Flyers. 18 games played for Van Riemsdyk, 10 goals already, 15 assists for 25 points and a +8 rating. Van Riemsdyk was a guy that people were talking about being traded, his contract being terrible, the Flyers wanting to move on from him all before the start of this season. He did not have a great year last year. He wasn't really that guy for the Flyers the past couple of years, who was worth $7 million a year until this season. What a year for JVR. 10 goals already, 25 points, a +8 rating. He has been a monster for the Flyers so far this season, and he's a guy that I think deserves a ton of credit and is having a huge season. Next up, from the Florida Panthers, Jonathan Huberdeau. Jonathan Huberdeau does not get talked about in the media a lot because he plays for the Florida Panthers. But the fact of the matter is he is one of the best point-producing left wings in the NHL, and he's over a point per game this season. In 20 games played, he has 8 goals, 16 assists for 24 points and a +3 rating. Florida has been a huge surprise with how great they have been this season, and Huberdeau is a big reason why. He's having a huge year and has looked absolutely phenomenal for the Panthers. So I think he deserves a ton of credit, and he is right up there with the best of the best as far as league scoring goes, and not really getting talked about a whole lot. So he deserves a lot more recognition. Next on the list at number 4 is a name that used to be talked about a lot with the best of the best, but hasn't really been recently, and that is Anze Kopitar of the LA Kings. Now, the Kings have had a pretty nice start to the season this year, and Kopitar has turned back the clock and really looks like the Anze Kopitar that was playing for LA back when they were winning Stanley Cups in the early 2010s. 20 games played. He only has 4 goals, but he has 19 assists already this season for 23 points and a +4 rating. And Kopitar is back to being the star player that Kopitar was back, 6, 7, 8 years ago now. And he's been absolutely phenomenal for LA, who as a team has been much better this year. And it's great to see Kopitar getting back to being his old self. And 23 points in 20 games has been a really, really nice start for Anze Kopitar. And finally, that brings us out now to number 5 on the list. It is Nikolaj Ehlers of the Winnipeg Jets. 20 games played, 11 goals already, 11 assists for 22 points, and an incredible plus 13 rating. Ehlers is getting it done at both ends of the ice. He's been a really good goal scorer. He's got the assist to go along with it here. 22 points in 20 games. Winnipeg's been pretty good this season, and Ehlers is a big reason why they were able to trade Patrik Laine and move on, because they are getting high-end production out of Ehlers this year, out of Kopp, out of Kyle Connor, like always. And that allowed them to really make the Laine for Dubois trade. And Ehlers is having a phenomenal season. So he is another guy that I think is really flying under the radar that not a lot of people are talking about. But he's got over a point per game this year and is having a phenomenal season for the Winnipeg Jets. So those are 5 players that I think are really kind of flying under the radar with how good of seasons they are having. Patrick Kane with 34 points already. JVR with 25. Huberdeau down in Florida with 24 points in 20 games. Anze Kopitar getting back to his old self with 23 points in 20 games. And Nikolaj Ehlers for the Winnipeg Jets with 22 points in 20 games and a plus 13 rating. These guys have been awesome this year. So they're certainly not the only players that could have been on this list and could have fit into this category, but I had to narrow the list down to 5, and these are 5 guys that really jumped off the page to me. When I went to NHL.com and just looked at the stats, seeing their point totals really made me go, wow, they are having huge seasons. And I feel like they're not really being talked about enough and given that recognition that they deserve in the national NHL media. You know, all the talk seems to be about the same old guys, whereas these guys, I think, are kind of flying under the radar with how great they've played. But they certainly have put up phenomenal point totals this season, and they're all plus players on the year. So that means they have been on the ice for more goals than they have been on the ice for goals against, which is always great. You want your top players to be plus players, and all of these guys are. So, just want to kind of shout these guys out a little bit and do a video on them and give them some recognition, because I really feel like they aren't being talked about enough in the NHL media, and they have all had absolutely tremendous seasons so far this year. So we'll see if they can keep it up all year long. I'm certainly rooting for them. And so far, so good in the 2021 season. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon merchandise store and donation link are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.